Namaskar, Jai Shri Krishna. Stipulating text 33 and text 34 of chapter 6, Jnana-Yoga of Srimad Bhagavad-gita. Text 33. Arjuna Uvacha. Yo ayam yogastvaya proktaha samayena madhusudana etasyaham na pashyayami chanchalatvata sthitim sthiram. Arjun said, O Madhusudan, the system of yoga which you have summarized appears impractical and unendurable to me, for the mind is restless and unsteady. The system of mysticism described by Lord Krishna to Arjun, beginning with the words Suchau Dese and ending with Yogi Paramaha, is here being rejected by Arjun out of a feeling of inability. It is not possible for an ordinary man to leave home and go to a secluded place in the mountains or jungles to practice yoga in this age of Kali. The present age is characterized by a bitter struggle for a life of short duration. People are not serious about self-realization, even by simple practical means. And what to speak of this difficult yoga system, which regulates the mode of living, the manner of sitting, selection of place, and detachment of the mind from material engagements. As a practical man, Arjun thought it was impossible to follow this system of yoga, even though he was favorably endowed in many ways. He belonged to the royal family and was highly elevated in terms of numerous qualities. He was a great warrior, he had great longevity, and above all, he was the most intimate friend of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Lord Shri Krishna. 5,000 years ago, Arjun had much better facilities than we do now, yet he refused to accept this system of yoga. In fact, we do not find any record in history of his practicing it at any time. Therefore, this system must be considered generally impossible in this age of Kali. Of course, it may be possible for some very few rare men, but for the people in general, it is an impossible proposal. If this were so 5,000 years ago, then what of the present day? Those who are imitating this yoga system in different so-called schools and societies, although complacent, are certainly wasting their time. They are completely in ignorance of the desired goal. Text 34. Chanchalam hi manah Krishna pramathi balvada drudam tasyaham nigraham manye vayoriva sadushkaram. For the mind is restless, turbulent, obstinate, and very strong, O Krishna, and to subdue it, I think, is more difficult than controlling the wind. The mind is so strong and obstinate that it sometimes overcomes the intelligence. Although the mind is supposed to be subservient to the intelligence, for a man in the practical world who has to fight so many opposing elements, it is certainly very difficult to control the mind. Artificially, one may establish a mental equilibrium toward both friend and enemy. But ultimately, no worldly man can do so, for this is more difficult than controlling the raging wind. In the Vedic literature, Katha Upanishad 1.3.34, it is said, Atmanam Rathinam Vidhi, Shariram Ratham Evacha, Buddhim tu Sarthim Vidhi, Manaha Pragraham Evacha, Indriyani Hayan Ahur, Visayam Stesu Gocharan Atmendriya Manoyuktam Bhokteti Ahur Mani Sinaha. The individual is the passenger in the car of the material body, and intelligence is the driver. Mind is the driving instrument and the senses are the horses. The self is thus the enjoyer or sufferer in the association of the mind and senses. So it is understood by great thinkers. Intelligence is supposed to direct the mind, but the is so strong and obstinate that it often overcomes even one's own intelligence, as an acute infection may surpass the efficacy of medicine. Such a strong mind is supposed to be controlled by the practice of yoga, but such practice is never practical for a worldly person like Arjun. And what can we say of modern man? The simile used here is appropriate. One cannot capture the blowing wind, and it is even more difficult to capture the turbulent mind. The easiest way to control the mind, as suggested by Lord Chaitanya, is chanting Hare Krishna, the great mantra for deliverance, in all humility. The method prescribed is Savai Manaha Krishna Padara Vinda Yoha. One must engage one's mind fully in Krishna. Only then will there remain no other engagements to agitate the mind. Thank you.